Question number 3, Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, what recent progress has the government made in its share offer program, and particularly in generating money for investing in new public assets without having to borrow from overseas lenders?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I thank the member for that question. The government is making very good progress with its share offer program, which we of course put to voters at the last election. Last night we confirmed the sale of 49% of Meridian Energy, which will raise around $1.9 billion in 2 instalments. Based on the $1.50 a share issue price, this is the largest retail investment in an initial public offering in New Zealand's history. And with 86.5% of the shares owned by New Zealanders when Meridian lists on the New Zealand Exchange next Tuesday, this comfortably meets the government's goal of achieving 85 to 90% New Zealand ownership.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Paul Goldsmith.
To the Minister, how many New Zealanders have invested in Meridian Energy, and how does this compare with the share registers of other New Zealand-listed companies?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, some 62,000 investors will receive shares in Meridian Energy. This means Meridian will have the 3rd largest share register on the NZX, behind Mighty River Power and Contact Energy. Overall, 95% of retail investor applications, Meridian shares will receive at least 90% of the shares that they have applied for. Meridian attracted a different mix of investors than we saw with Mighty River Power earlier this year. Demand was strong and broad-based, but overall we saw retail investors bidding for slightly larger parcels of shares. Having said that, around half of all Meridian investors applied for 5,000 shares or less, so there was strong demand from smaller investors.
Supplementary question, Paul Goldsmith.
To the Minister, on behalf of taxpayers, how will the government use the $1.9 billion in proceeds from the Meridian Energy share offer?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
On behalf of the Minister of Finance, the approximately $1.9 billion raised from Meridian's 2 instalment payments will be allocated to the Future Investment Fund. On behalf of all New Zealanders, that money will be invested in the government's public infrastructure program, which in turn supports thousands of jobs across New Zealand. Combined with the $1.7 billion in proceeds from the Mighty River Power offer earlier this year, there will now be almost $3.6 billion over the 2 floats, which the government does not have to borrow to reinvest in new priority public assets. These include modern schools, new hospitals, irrigation projects, supporting Kiwi Rail and helping to rebuild Christchurch. We can do all of those things without having to borrow this money from overseas lenders. And the question is, what would the opposition do?
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Paul Goldsmith.
To the Minister, what alternative approaches to the share offer program are available?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, there are 3 main alternatives. One would, of course, be to not invest in new schools, hospitals or ultra-fast broadband. I doubt anybody is suggesting that. Another option would be to borrow the billions of dollars from overseas lenders to invest in these new public assets. Some in this House appear to favour that borrowing option, including the Honourable Annette King and Grant Robertson. A third option is promising to buy back the minority shareholdings in these energy companies and borrow billions of dollars from overseas banks to pay for them. But nobody in this House is proposing to do that. So I can only assume that opponents of this share program do not have the courage of their convictions, but I have to say that's not unusual.
Order. That answer will not help the order of this House. Point of order, Grant Robertson.
As recently as the last day or so, someone else who's used that phrase has been challenged to withdraw and apologise for it. Mr. Joyce made a direct link between members in this House and the lack of courage. That is out of order, and he should have to withdraw and apologise.
If the member has taken offence, that is the member has taken offence, and on that basis I ask the Minister to stand, withdraw and apologise to Mr. Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw and apologise to Mr. Robertson.
Question number 4. Bill. Oh, sorry.
Speaker, I also took offence.
Well, it's.
We don't need to apologise to
Order.
I draw the line.
Order. That's not strictly a point of order. The offence has been apologised for. Any member that was so any member that was so offended by the remark can now accept the apology that's been given.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, the apology was a qualified one only to Mr. Robertson and not to the House. So it pays to listen.
The member can stand and withdraw that last part of that remark.
I withdraw to you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now, on the basis that Mr. Mallard and order, on the basis that on the basis that potentially there were other members who were offended by the minister's remark, I'm now going to ask him to stand, withdraw and apologise without addressing the offence to anybody.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, is that to Mr. Mallard or to the whole House?
Order. Would the member just stand, would the minister just stand, withdraw and apologise for the remark he made in an earlier answer?
I withdraw and apologise.
Order. Question number 4, Phil Twyford.
My question is